Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and with that, if everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let me review our agenda for this evening. The first item on the agenda will be our consent agenda. In just a minute, we'll approve the minutes from the January 12th, 2015 meeting. We also have three public hearings. The first public hearing, conditional use permit, CUP 01-15-4734, pertains to Toyo Motors. The applicant has requested a continuance in regard to this public hearing, but nonetheless, I'll open the public hearing, ask for a motion to continue, and the Plan Commission vote on that continuance to Monday, March 9th, 2015. The next public hearing, a rezoning for Quinta Inn and Suites, that's RZ-01-15-4736. And the final public hearing before us tonight is public hearing Plan Unit Development Concept Plan PUDC-02-15-4740 for Indigo Hills PUD. There's also a preliminary plat pertaining to Indigo Hills PUD second plat as amended. We'll hear that also at the same time as the public hearing. So with that, first item on the agenda is the minutes from the January 12th meeting. Are there any amendments or revisions or changes to those minutes? If not, I ask for a motion. Mr. Billups.
Move to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Wallace? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. In regards to the public hearings, let me just go over a few items and procedures as we open these public hearings. The first thing is we'll open the public hearing and call for the exhibits from our city attorney, Ms. Yendis. Next, the staff will provide their comment and presentation. We'll then ask for the applicant to come forward and make a presentation. Witnesses in favor of the petition will be called to speak. As you raise your hand, I'll recognize you from the crowd. If you could please then come to the podium and the microphones. We'll have you sworn in by the public stenographer, and at that time then you can state your name and address and then address your comments to the commission. We'll then also ask for witnesses who may be opposed to the petition and public hearing to be called. Same procedure, just raise your hand. I'll recognize you, come forward, be sworn in, state your name and address for the public stenographer, and then make your comments to the commission. We'll then ask for any questions and discussion items among the commission members, any other follow-up questions to the applicant or staff. Once that concludes, then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and the commission will consider the facts and approve or deny the request. This is a recommendation to the City Council. It will be then forwarded on to them for their review and consideration. So with that, I open the public hearing for CUP-01-15-4734 for Toyo Motors. As I indicated before, the applicant is requesting that this be continued to the Monday, March 9th meeting. So with that, is there a motion for continuance? Mr. Billups?
Mr. Chairman, I move to continue public hearing conditional use permit CUP 01-15-4734 to our March 9th meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Banks. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So this public hearing will be continued to the Monday, March 9th meeting. That'll close this public hearing. Let me open the next public hearing, which is RZ-01-15-4736 for Quinta Inn and Suites. With that, Ms. Yendis, the exhibits.
Thank you. The City of Blue Springs has the following exhibits. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. Exhibit 2, affidavit of publication in the Blue Springs Examiner for February 7th, 2015. Exhibit 3, application with attachments. Exhibit 4, the 185-foot notification map. Exhibit 5, names, addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. Exhibit 6, a copy of a letter sent to the property owners. Exhibit 7, Title IV Land Use Section of the Blue Springs Code of Ordinances. And Exhibit 8, the 2003 Comprehensive Plan. Those are the exhibits for the City of Blue Springs for this public hearing.
Thank you. Mr. Wright?
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. Before you this evening, you have a request to rezone property at 3400 Northwest Jefferson Street from GB General Business to RC Regional Commercial. The 2.48 acre property is located approximately 160 feet east of the Northwest Woods Chapel Road and Northwest Jefferson Street intersection and immediately north of I-70. The owner, Mr. Hitesh Patel, is requesting to rezone the property to regional commercial to bring the existing land use as a hotel into legal conformance with the UDC. Hotels are a non-conforming use in general business per the UDC if more than 50% of the structural value of the existing hotel were damaged or destroyed, it could not be rebuilt and used as a hotel in the current zoning district. Approval to remodel of the former motel into the current Quinta Inn and Suites was approved by the Planning Commission in September 2008. The owner is currently working on refinancing the property, and they would like to rezone this as part of that package. The request meets the intentions of the comprehensive plan, the UDC, and the rezoning review criteria. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning application. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions for staff? With the rezoning also, Mr. Wright, that this takes it from a non-conforming status to a conforming status with a change in zoning as well.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. Is the applicant present? No. Okay, I don't believe there's a reason for the applicant to be present. So I'll move to, is there anyone else in the audience in favor of this request? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience against the request or have questions regarding the request? Seeing none, I bring it back up to the commission for any other additional questions, discussion. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Here's our motion. Mrs. Banks.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Quinta Inn and Suites rezoning case number RZ-01-15-4736.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Graham. Karen, can we have a roll call vote?
Okay. Planning Commissioner Abbott,
Aye.
Wallace,
Aye.
Sanders,
Aye.
Haney,
Aye.
Graham,
Aye.
Banks,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Chairman Trozy.
Aye. So the request for rezoning is approved, and that recommendation will be forwarded on to the City Council for consideration. The next public hearing before you is before this commission is, let me go ahead and open up the public hearing. Public hearing, Plan Unit Development Concept Plan PUDC-02-15-4740 Indigo Hills PUD amended. Ms. Yendes.
Thank you. The city has the following exhibits. Exhibit 1, the staff report with attachments. Exhibit 2, the affidavit of publication in the Blue Springs Examiner on February 7th, 2015. Exhibit 3, the application with attachments. Exhibit 4, the 185-foot notification map. Exhibit 5, names and addresses of property owners within the 185 feet of the site. Exhibit 6, the copy of the letter sent to the property owners. Exhibit 7, Title IV Land Use Section of the Blue Springs Code of Ordinances. And Exhibit 8, the 2003 Comprehensive Plan. Those are the exhibits for the City of Blue Springs.
Thank you. As I mentioned in the introduction too, we're going to go ahead and consider the preliminary plat PP-02-15-4741 Indigo Hills PUD second plat as amended during the staff presentation as well. So with that, Mr. Wright?
Okay. Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. This is a request to approve an amended PUD concept plan for Indigo Hills as well as a preliminary plat for Indigo Hills second plat based on the PUD concept plan. This request covers approximately 13.34 acres located south of 40 Highway, west of Southwest Elizabeth Street, and north and east of Fleming Park. The original PUD concept plan for Indigo Hills was approved for the entire 32.93 acre development in February 2004 and amended in December 2004. This amended PUD concept plan proposes to reduce the number of villa units from 21 to 10 units and the number of estate lots from 20 to 8 lots. The applicant, Mr. Sean Woods with Ashler Homes, is wanting to purchase all the remaining lots in the first plat as well as plat and develop the remaining undeveloped portion of Indigo Hills. Because of the requested changes, Mr. Woods is required to amend the PUD concept plan and submit a preliminary plat for approval. Once approved, infrastructure improvements can be made. Once infrastructure improvements have been made, requests for final plat and PUD final plan can be made. A street vacation is also required where Southwest Indigo Hills Drive was originally platted and installed to be continued to the west of Northwest Elizabeth Street. This vacation has been included as a condition of the approval in both the concept plan and preliminary plat. Included in this request are 7 estate lots, 6 of which meet requirements of SF12 zoning and 1 that meets SF7 zoning requirements. The final estate lot, lot 37, is approximately 4.23 acres, and although included in the PUD, will not be part of the HOA. 10 villa units have also been included, all of which will be on one common tract that will be maintained by the HOA. Lot 37 has been given preliminary approval from MoDOT to have direct access from 40 Highway. All other lots in Indigo Hills will have access from local streets within the development. An existing detention area on Lot 34 will be relocated to Tract D, which will include a 1.8 acre pond for detention. All public infrastructure, including street improvements and stormwater improvements, must be completed prior to final plat approval. The applicant is also required by MoDOT to install a designated left turn lane on westbound 40 Highway at Southwest Bowling Road prior to final plat approval. A landscape plan has been included with the PUD concept plan, which includes street trees and the 40 Highway buffer. The applicant believes that there is enough mature trees along the substation property to meet buffering requirements. This will need to be verified and shown in the final plan as noted as a condition of approval. The applicant has provided sample building elevations and floor plans for both the villas and the estates. Exterior building materials will be a mix of stone, brick, and stucco. These materials are consistent with the homes that have been constructed in the first plat. The applicant is proposing to apply the same covenants, conditions, and restrictions that are recorded for the first plat. Minimum livable floor areas for villas will be 1,250 square feet, which is Class H, and for estates will be 1,800 square feet, which is Class E. These shall be noted on the final plat as a condition of approval. Staff recommends approval of the PUD concept plan subject to the 9 conditions in the staff report, and staff also recommends approval of the preliminary plat subject to the 6 conditions in the staff report. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Mr. Billups.
I think you answered the question when you were talking there, but I'm not sure. And I don't remember when we first approved this originally, the pond was not in the original plan, is that right?
That is correct. The stormwater detention there were smaller areas throughout the development, but they're proposing to combine all those into one central stormwater detention area.
And if I heard you correctly on where one of those was originally, is this in the lowest spot on the property? It seems like it's not, but
Can look at that, but right now that is proposed to become a buildable lot. The city engineer has put some restrictions on, some stipulations on that they'll have to do some certain things with the basement to ensure that it's not going to become an issue as far as.
No, I meant the new pond. Is that the lowest spot? Is the water all going to run to that pond, or is some of it going to run off the property?
So some of it will run off the property, yes. But the detention will be handled enough by the pond that the part that isn't collected is handled, if that makes sense. So you're allowed to let that free drain off. Your detention will be large enough, capture enough that it handles the detention requirements for the whole subdivision.
Okay.
Mr. McCabe, could you please
Sorry about
state
that.
your name for the record?
Ben McCabe, city engineer for Blue Springs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from the commission to staff? Mr. Wright, could you put the plat, there we go. Thank you for putting that up there.
Sorry, I was still trying to learn this.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate that. With the plat up, is there any other questions from staff? For staff? Okay, seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is the applicant present? Could you please come forward? State your name and address.
My name is Sean Woods, 903 Southeast Willow Place, Blue Springs, Missouri.
Thank you, Mr. Woods.
I do. I don't really have a formal presentation to make. I mean, I think it was talked about on the staff level here. We're buying 12 existing estate lots that are in the first plat that are already approved, and then 7 PUD lots or maintenance provided lots that are in the first phase. And then we're proposing to add 7 more estate lots and 10 more PUD lots to finish out the subdivision. So with that, I would just take any questions that anybody has.
Are there any questions for the applicant? Mr. Billups?
I'm just curious as to why we're doing such a drastic change in the original plan in reducing all of these lots and creating this big pond instead of building it out as it was planned.
Well, there are a couple reasons for that. For one, obviously the momentum there was not sufficient to sustain that many lots that they had developed. So that's one reason why I'm not proposing to develop them all. The second one, the large tract in the back, is actually going to be for a personal home for myself. So that's why I reduced it, so I'd have a nice large lot, and the pond is also to add as a feature for that, both for the neighborhood and for my personal home.
And who's going to be responsible for maintaining the pond?
I am. I mean, it'll be, the reason it's in a tract like that is so that the city can get to it for maintenance, should it be needed.
And then you said your house will not be on part of the HOA. Will the pond be part of the HOA?
No.
So if there's a problem with the pond, the HOA has no recourse except to go back after you. They don't have any.
I would guess, yeah. I mean, I mean, if the pond needs to be part of the HOA, we could do that. But I mean, I think that if there was a problem with the pond, it would more be a issue between me and the city, not the HOA.
Not sure I agree with that, but
We'll ask city staff to address that if we could. Mr. McCabe, Mr. Wright?
I can answer from a public works perspective. We would maintain the outlet structure. The remainder of the ponds is not part of public works responsibility.
Ms. Banks?
Well, Mr. Woods, I'd just like to clarify. You're saying it's a 1.8 acre pond, but it's water detention.
Correct.
So it is going to be filled with water. It's not just going to be a big empty
No,
water
it'll
basin.
permanently hold water.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Billups?
I'm still concerned about this. when I'm referring to maintenance, I'm talking about the big dollar things like dredging it and things like that. You're gonna take care of that. That's not gonna be anything you're gonna come back later and say, we're gonna assess the HOA or something like that, or we're gonna try and get the city to do it.
No.
Other questions? Mr. Wallace?
I've got one. The site we're talking about now is early on, I know it wasn't plotted, but was there any kind of concept that how this was going to be developed in the future?
There was, yeah, you approved I don't know if it was a preliminary plan or the original PUD showed how the rest of the lots were to be developed.
Okay. And this is quite a bit of a change to that then.
Yeah, it's just a reduction in units. I mean, where I put estate lots were planned for estate lots, and where I put PUD lots were planned for PUD lots. So I didn't change any of the structure. We just took away, basically where the pond was a much smaller detention basin, and then some more estate lots. And then the two streets on the outside perimeter basically looped around the whole site and connected together.
Other questions for the applicant? I do have one question in regards to where will the outfall be for the pond as far as drainage?
Well, we haven't got that far in engineering yet, but I know there's going to be an outfall structure in the pond that comes down to the cul-de-sac on the bottom. There'll be another storm structure there for the street. There's actually no storm sewer on that street, and there should have been. So we're going to put a storm structure on that street, and then that storm structure will go under the street. And I don't know yet if it's going to be on the property line of lot 34 or 35 where it outfalls out. So it'll all be within storm sewers and pipes.
Okay. And then if it's a pond that will be containing water, if that pond gets full, where will the water drain?
That's what the outfall structure
The
will be
outfall would
designed
be
for.
back onto, okay.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this application? Yes, sir. Please come forward and state your name and address. Be sworn in.
Yes. John Dunn, 4900 Southwest Marguerite, Blue Springs, Missouri. I live in that Indigo Hills subdivision currently. This is a huge change from what it was. But I'll be honest with seeing what is going in there now, I'm very relieved because I didn't want 42 houses down there, to be honest with you. All those houses in that subdivision are very nice houses. I'm sure that Sean's going to build really nice houses since his is going to be there too. And I don't see any reason that we shouldn't approve this. There's not a whole lot of houses in Blue Springs in this price range, and I think it would be good to go ahead and develop the rest of the subdivision without putting 42 homes down there and cramming them in there. Like I said, it's a nice subdivision now. I'm sure he's going to do a great job with it. This is the best thing I could see going in there right now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the request? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition or have questions? Ma'am, please come forward.
Okay?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name's Jackie Fairbanks, and I live at 5121 Southwest Marguerite, part of the villas, which obviously are crammed all together. But the original plat of this subdivision did designate other villa units in the part that is currently under consideration. We moved to this unit in November of 2008. We eliminated those with higher monthly maintenance fees that provided options not interesting to us. For example, swimming pools, golf courses, and pond water features. We were interested in basic lawn maintenance and snow removal. As individuals over 50 years of age, we were looking for low maintenance and low responsibilities. When Union Bank foreclosed on the developer due to general economic downturn and the real estate slide 5 to 6 years ago, the unit owners were forced to incorporate the Villas of Indigo Hills on April the 2nd, 2010. Contrary to what is in the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, the developer had not incorporated the HOA. It states in the CCNRs that he did, and he did not. So we had to do that. The HOA is managed liability insurance, the sprinkler systems, lawn maintenance, snow removal, and utility services on a volunteer basis. Under normal circumstances, these functions would be performed by the developer. Union Bank did not offer assistance with the HOA operating functions when they foreclosed on the property. Since our time of incorporation, 2 amendments have been made to the CCNRs. The first and most important amendment was defining the Architectural Review Board. As a group, we are excited that Ashlar Homes is interested in completing the development. However, we are interested in preserving the integrity of the neighborhood as well as preserving our property rights and values, not allowing them to be diminished or diluted. In reviewing the proposal, we have the following concerns. We're in the process of amending the CCNRs to eliminate Class B members and to allow for 2 distinct monthly assessments. The 2 distinct monthly assessments are necessary based on the increased common ground around units 19 to 28 due to the reduction in the total number of units in the second plat, Phase 3, from 21 to 10. This platting will increase water usage for the sprinkler systems and increase mowing expenses. For the units having 3-car garages, the per unit snow removal expense will be higher. These amendments to our CCNRs will be voted on at a special HOA meeting March the 6th at 6 p.m. Mid-Continent Public Library, 2220 South 7 Highway. The Ashlar Homes tumbleweed model is the most similar to the current villas in the Villas at Indigo Hills. The CCNRs call for a roof pitch of 7/12. All units in the first plat have hip-type roofs. The tumbleweed model has a steep gable-type roof, so this would not be conducive to what is already in the neighborhood. Secondly, we are not interested in the liability or maintenance of a pond water feature. The watershed, drainage, retention could be accomplished in a different manner. If this cannot be removed from the plat of the Villas at Indigo Hills, the Homeowners Association will vote at the March 14th annual meeting as to whether or not to allow the annexation of the second plat. If the pond water feature becomes a component of the estates or the single-family acreage, we would require a 6-foot fence separating the pond from the Villas at Indigo Hills. Grandchildren are drawn to water, and we do not want the responsibility of a potential drowning. Prior to beginning construction, each proposed unit would need to gain approval of our Architectural Review Board, and our responses are normally provided within 30 days of submission. Fourthly, we would want Ashlar Homes to provide a multiple station sprinkler control system serving the 10 units in the second plat of Phase 3. Exclusive lawns would need to be utilized to install each unit's individual sprinkler system. Lastly, for me, we would prefer a more definitive listing of foliage used on the berm extension. Since there is no berm currently in the location, I don't understand how existing trees on the property can be utilized. We would want the Master Gardener program of the University of Missouri Extension Service to provide recommendations on the type foliage best suited for that purpose. I think you've answered my next question, the ownership status of the existing 7 units in the first plat. The common ground between the berm and 40 Highway has not been addressed. We don't know whether or not that is included or not. And we are also concerned about potential zoning and usage of the acreage tract receiving Missouri Highway Department curb cut on 40 Highway. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Ms. Fairbanks?
Would it be possible for you to leave a copy of your notes for our record?
Sure.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and mark those.
Those would be Exhibit 9.
Ms. Banks?
Ms. Fairbanks, have you met with Mr. Woods, or has there been a meeting or anything?
Could she, let Ms. Fairbanks, if you could please return to the podium. Thank
No, we
you.
have not met with Mr. Woods. I met with Matt Wright a week ago Monday and expressed these concerns. I have also contacted the chief underwriter at the title company that recorded the CCNRs, and I've talked with an attorney to determine what our rights are.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Come back to Ms. Fairbanks' questions. Let me see if there's anyone else in the audience who would like to testify or have questions in opposition.
Just had one question. I'll go. Yes. Stephen Christensen, 4705 Southwest Indigo Hills. Obviously a member of the subdivision there and president of the Homeowners Association for the Villas of Indigo Hills. One of the questions that has been brought to my attention by the members of the villas is the use of the Lot 37. Is that going to be strictly residential, or will there be other uses for that particular land? So
Well,
I can ask Scott, or
We'll ask the applicant to come back up.
okay.
I believe in his testimony he indicated it was going to be a residence for his use, but we'll have him come back up and address that question.
All right, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to testify or have comments or opposition to the request? Yeah, what we could do is, if you want to have a show of hands, if you're in opposition to the request. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11, I count 11. So let the record show that there are 11 individuals who raised their hands in regards to opposition to the change in zoning and PUD. With that, Mr. Woods, could you please come back up?
I can speak to a few of her things. I don't know that I remember all the questions exactly, but just for the record, I did talk to the HOA president before I put this under contract or moved forward with any development things, just to tell him what I was doing and ask if there were any questions or concerns that somebody please call me. Before we got to this point, and to this date, I haven't heard from anybody. So some of this is a little bit of a surprise to me, but for one thing, she was mentioning about third car garages and maintenance of snow removal. There are no third car garages on the PUD units. The picture that I sent to the city was an example of one of our houses, and all of our houses have options for third car garages. But in the PUD section, it's too tight to build third car garages. So none of those will have third car garages. They'll be 2-car garages just like they currently have in their PUD section or in their maintenance provided section. The pond maintenance issue, when I first went into this, I had no intentions of putting the pond in a tract. I was told I had to do that for the city to be able to get to it for maintenance. I would love to make the pond part of Lot 37 so the HOA or anybody in Indigo Hills ever had anything to do with the pond, but that was just what I was told I needed to do. So I would love to take that out of the scenario if somebody's concerned about that. I'd love for it just to be part of 37, but I guess that's up to kind of city codes and things. As far as the use of Lot 37, I do have a home office, but it's not anything that anybody comes to the home office. I mean, it's something that I sit at a desk at a home office, but it is a residence is all it's going to be. So that's what the use of 37 is. I mean, MoDOT's been very clear in that is for a residential driveway only. It is not a curb cut, so it's not anything that could be changed into commercial development or anything like that in the future. It's strictly a residential curb cut for a driveway, and that's it. A couple of the other things she was mentioned about trees, how I was using existing trees. I think there was some miscommunication on that. The existing trees that we're saying are there are up on the very, I guess you'd call that kind of this northwest property line. Aquila has a substation up there, and there are mature trees all the way along that property line. Those are the trees we are saying we could use for a buffer for that Aquila substation. We're in no way saying there's any trees along 40 Highway. There's nothing there. The berm basically stops at where the plat stops right now. So we will be building more landscaping along 40 Highway to buffer all that. The trees were up on the other section along Lot 37 is where the trees are that we'll be able to preserve. Trying to think. One of the things, and this is something I've had an attorney briefly look at. I'll have to have him look at it more in depth. As part of the purchase from the bank, I am buying the developer's rights to the CC&Rs, which means that I'm entitled to 2 votes for every vote of a property owner as far as architectural review and things like that. I'm happy to sit down with the HOA and make sure that they're fine with what I'm doing as far as architectural review. But at the same time, I mean, I have to make sure that the houses are going to be aesthetically pleasing to a buyer in today's market, as well as be affordable enough that I can actually build them for what I need to price them at. So, I mean, I'm happy to sit down and meet with them and make compromises there, but at some point, like I said, I've got to be able to price the house to sell in the market. So I don't know if I've missed any questions. I'm happy to address any of them, but I don't know if I've missed any or not.
Mr. Billups?
No, I think one of the big ones you missed was a fence between the PUD and the pond.
I would strongly oppose it, because the reason I laid it out like that is because those are going to be very desirable lots. So I hate to put a 6-foot fence and block somebody from viewing a pond. Same thing, I mean, lots 30, 31, 32, those are some of the most expensive lots I have priced in there, because they're going to be pond lots. I mean, those are going to be lots that are, first people come in the door are going to want to buy those lots. So I'd hate to put a fence in to separate. I mean, honestly, that's what I was saying tonight is kind of a surprise. I thought most people would like a water feature, especially when they don't have any maintenance to it, but I guess I was mistaken. But yeah, I would hate to put a fence there. I mean, those PUD lots that back to the pond will be extremely desirable lots. I mean, most people would rather back to a pond than they would back to a golf course or anything like that, because they know they're never going to have a rear yard neighbor. So that's, for me, those are economically the most valuable lots.
I'm not real familiar with the CC&R for this development or anything like that, but it seems, if my memory is right from driving by over there, there is at least one of the villas that has a small fence around part of the lot. Is that something that these other folks could do if they wanted to?
I honestly don't know. I couldn't speak to that. I don't know. I would assume it would have to go through most fences have to be approved through the Architectural Review Board, and then if they approve them, they could. But I can't speak to that.
Mr. Allen? Oh, Mr. McKay?
Just wanted to offer that regarding the pond and the track D, that could be switched over to a drainage easement, because we needed some of the current issues and concerns that were brought up.
Mr. Allen?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, as well, again, this being the concept plan and preliminary plat, again, the details of landscape plan and things of that sort will be better detailed and identified with that PUD final plan and final plan. So that's why, again, while it's not required and was not asked of the applications here for you tonight. So I think there have been some questions and concerns, but again, some of that will get flushed out as we move forward to the next phase.
So when city staff receives that information, is there any way to communicate to a representative of the subdivision that you've received that information and that it is available for review and comment?
Mr. Nora would be happy to send that stuff.
Okay.
Yes, that's certainly something we can do. Again, being active homeowners association, having their contact information, etc., we certainly share that information as it comes in. As you know, I think we bring that up too. Again, it's not a public hearing at those stages, but again, public information, public review is certainly agreeable.
Okay.
Yeah, I think one thing I forgot to talk about too is I think there was mention of a more expensive HOA fee on the lots that in the PUD that had larger, I guess, common area around them, and I'm happy to talk about that if we need to have a different status of PUD lots, as long as it's a reasonable cost. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I mean, I think a buyer is going to be willing to pay an extra $20 or $30 a month to have the view that they're going to have there and the extra common area around their house. So I'm happy to open discussions for that. I mean, we also thought about when we were going into this, lowering the square footage minimums on the house to make them, a lot of people are looking for smaller houses today with much more features in them, so just more bells and whistles in a smaller package, and we decided to just leave it alone, so we didn't want to, we want to keep the neighborhood consistent with what it looks like today. That's what we're going to try to finish it out as, so that was one thing that did cross our mind, but square footage minimums are staying the same.
So in regards to the proposed models, I believe there was a question regarding the roof type and the appearance, that it may be different than what's existing there. I think there was also questions regarding the amenities on the property, like the sprinkler systems and other items like that. Could you address those?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm happy to sit down with the Architectural Review Board and talk through changes we need to make to plans, if we need to make any. But I mean, going into this, I mean, one thing I had with the bank specifically was that I get the developer rights of the CC&Rs, so the way we build houses, I can't on a Saturday when a buyer's there and they're discussing changes with me, I have to be able to tell them, yes, you can do this, and this is how much it's going to cost. I can't say, well, it's going to take me 30 days. I got to get with the Architectural Review Board and okay that. I mean, as long as we stay with a consistent model and look all the way through there, there's going to be multiple floor plans. I mean, we offer as many as 20 different floor plans, so there's going to be multiple floor plans people can choose from. As long as they meet those square footage minimums, criterias of masonry and stone on the front, smart siding on the three sides, things like that, we have to be able to, make sales when they're available. So I'm happy to sit down and talk at the beginning about those things, yes, and bring them into. Most of our floor plans have hip roofs on the sides anyways. Most have gables on the fronts and hips on the sides, and that's mostly for cost purposes. And yeah, I'm happy to talk about the irrigation systems. I mean, I'd even be willing to, I don't know how the HOA would feel about it, I'd be willing to break the irrigation systems off there and make them as part of the individual owners if they wanted to. I'm happy for the irrigation to happen however it needs to. That's not an issue.
Any other questions for Mr. Woods? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments or discussion among the Plan Commission? For the record? Okay, seeing that.
Mr. Chair. Something else she wants to say.
Well, Ms. Fairbanks, I'll invite you back up in regards to comments, just to get them on the public record.
Okay.
Typically, we don't do that, but I will do that at this time to recognize you and have come back up. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
In regards to the existing fencing that is on one of the units, that did have to come before the Architectural Review Board. We did approve it. If anyone puts a fence up, they have to maintain the exterior and the interior of the fence and mow their own yard. So there's a restriction on that. I do have a question regarding whether or not Mr. Woods is buying the developer rights. The CCNR gives voting rights to Class B members, and the Class B member is the declarant, which was Bennett Properties, and he is not Bennett Properties, and it would be entitled to 3 votes for each Class A vote. The Class B memberships shall cease on the happening of the following event: 2 years after the last 2 occur of the filing of the initial plat, which that has passed, and any annexation of additional properties, and there has been no annexation of additional properties. And at our March 3rd meeting of the HOA, we are going to delete the Class B membership. So it would be interesting to know what the developer rights are. The HOA additional fee, I am the Secretary Treasurer, so I have a real good idea, and it probably is going to be 80% higher than our current, because if you're reducing from 21 to 10, you've got twice as much space that's going to have sprinkled and mowed.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Woods, I'll give you the opportunity, if you'd like, to come back up and make any additional comments.
I mean, I'll just say on the PUD section of the 80% more, there's a huge section that is now part of Lot 37 that was supposed to be part of the PUD. So we're not putting 10 lots on what was 21. We're putting 10 lots on where 10 lots were supposed to be before. So it's not changing the, if you see the line that's out there, kind of says SF7, there's a line between Lot 37 and where it says SF7. That whole section was supposed to be maintenance provided villas, and it's not now. So, you know, there are a few around that cul-de-sac that are larger lots than they should have been, but larger lots by 10 to 12, 15%, maybe not 80%. So there's a large section that is, the section of PUD is not what it used to be as far as what's being included as far as common ground, if that makes sense. So.
Okay, so we're up here for comments and discussion. Anyone would like to make a comment or discussion item? Mr. Billups.
Go back to what I said. I'm concerned about the maintenance of the pond. If Mr. Woods were to sell his home or something like that, and then where does the responsibility fall? Is there a contractual obligation in that, since it's a separate lot, somebody's not buying that separate lot, how are we going to keep that pond maintained at some future point? I know we've had issues in the city before where an HOA wants a pond dredged, and everybody's pointing fingers at everybody else trying to get it done, and I'm afraid that's what we're going to end up with somewhere along the line. So I'm not thrilled with the pond. The rest of it I'm pretty good with, but I'm just not real thrilled with the pond.
Does staff have any comments or suggestions in regards to addressing Mr. Billups' concerns?
Mr. Chairman, I suppose we can get with our city attorney, Ms. Yendez, and kind of discuss some options, but as Mr. McCabe noted earlier, that it's possible that could just be a drainage easement, perhaps that would go with Lot 37, and therefore it's all one lot, and not, as Commissioner Billups noted, perhaps a separate lot, even though it's called a tract, that could somehow get lost in the shuffle.
I want to have it legally tied to lot 37 somehow so that it doesn't get separate.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, it is
Yes,
not,
Ms. Yan.
it is not uncommon to have something like that on one lot and then have a drainage easement on behalf of the subdivision, which then puts the maintenance on the lot that it's sitting on. So we can certainly work on that with the developer.
Okay. It sounds like he's cooperative to doing that, and I think that would address your concern too, if that was a part of that lot with then just the drainage easement around the pond.
Okay.
Ms. Banks?
I guess this is just a comment that I have some concerns, not so much for, well, I guess my biggest concern is the fact that they haven't sat down and met together. And I think that being that they're going to be neighbors, it might be a wise thing to do. That I think that, Mr. Woods would be willing to work on all the issues that they may have, but I think it all needs to be written out, and I'm not quite comfortable on how I feel about whether I'm voting on it with these concerns.
Well, there is still time to, for that to occur before we get to a final PUD.
Correct.
So we can approve it, and it can be modified if needed to be as it goes between preliminary and final, if there's something, if those meetings were to take place.
And is it typically during the final process where we would see maybe the restrictions, the CCRs that would pertain to this
That's correct, Mr.
development?
Chairman. Yes.
Okay.
I wanted my issues known.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments for the public hearing record? If not, I close the public hearing. What I'd like to do is, we have two issues before us, so what I'd like to do is have separate votes on each of those two issues. So the first item pertains to the public hearing, Plan Unit Development Concept Plan, PUDC-02-154740. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Graham?
I would recommend approval of the amended Indigo Hills PUD case number PUDC-02-15-4740 with the 9 staff recommendations.
Thank you. I second. Thank you, Mr. Sanders. We have a motion and a second. Roll
Mr.
call vote.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Belks?
could I ask for an amendment to the motion?
Yes, you may.
Could we add a 10th recommendation tying that pond to lot 37?
Mr. Graham, are you willing to accept that amendment?
I'm agreeable to that, yes.
Okay. So let's go ahead and restate the motion.
You would want to restate the motion, but I'm wondering if that really should be part of the zoning or part of the plat.
Part of the final plat.
Yeah, well,
Or
part
the
of your
preliminary.
recommendation for the preliminary plat, because it really deals with your your subdivision regs on storm detention. I'll look to the rest of the staff, but I think that I can see where you'd want that as part of your recommendation going forward, but is it really appropriate as a condition of zoning or for the plat? And I'll just leave that to you all to discuss.
Part of the plat then? So
So I believe my original motion has stated.
Okay. So it'll be approval with the 9 conditions.
Yes.
Jason, second.
Roll call vote, please.
All right. Okay, Planning Commissioner Wallace,
Aye.
Sanders,
Aye.
Haney, Graham,
Aye.
Banks,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Abbott,
Aye.
Chairman Trozen.
Aye. So this recommendation is approved by the Plan Commission and will be forwarded to the City Council for consideration. The next item is the preliminary plat, PP-02-154741, Indigo Hills PUD second plat. I believe as Ms. Yendis states that if an additional condition could be added on to that motion pertaining to Lot 37 and the proposed pond. So with that, I ask for a motion. Mr. Billups.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval, get down here and get the right number here, of preliminary plat PP 02154741 with the 6 staff recommendations and a 7th recommendation that Lot D be combined with Lot 37 and a drainage easement be created for the runoff.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Banks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you. That gets us to our next item on the agenda, which is other business. Are there any announcements by the Plan Commission or staff? Mr. Allen?
Mr. Chairman, I should note, since so many folks were willing to come out this evening for the meeting, that the City Council meeting where the PUD concept plan recommendation is being forwarded to is next Monday, March 2nd, same place, same time.
Thank you. Mr. Billups?
Nobody else wants to jump in? I would like to remind everyone here and everybody who might listen or come up later that March 12th.
Sorry. Trying to turn it off. Wrong button.
March 12th is the 2nd annual Piccadilly Gala for Downtown Alive. Funds all go to the restoration and preservation of our downtown. And all the ladies are invited to participate. It'll be a great time, and the gentlemen are all invited to come help serve the ladies. So,
Great. Tickets, where can we get tickets?
tickets, I would contact Cindy Miller at American Community Bank, or Councilman Culpepper, or go to our Downtown Alive website.
I have 2 announcements that were handed to me by staff. The City and Missouri Department of Revenue has extended the License Bureau contract to February 27th. So the city will continue the License Bureau operations in its current location in City Hall through Friday, February 27th, 2015. The other announcement pertains to the household hazardous waste. It's scheduled Saturday, April 18th, 2015, Pink Hill Park from 8 a.m. to noon. The city is in need of volunteers. To volunteer, please contact Matt Wright at 220-4504. Any other announcements? I'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening to the Plan Commission. With that, then, I entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Meeting's adjourned.